Let's continue taking a look to the possibilities available in the market from third parties with controls and toolings for .NET MAUI, and today we are going to talk about the Telerik controls for .NET MAUI. After reviewing the Syncfusion toolkit for .NET MAUI and the free controls offered by DevExpress, we continue to review and taking a look to the different controls and options available from vendors. In this case, we jump to a classic, a company that has been offering controls for many years for the different Microsoft stacks and frameworks, and it's no other than Telerik. Today, we'll put the focus on see what Telerik offers for .NET MAUI. As usual, we will take a first look at everything that the library offers in a running sample, taking a look to every control, every option, to then jump to see how we can integrate that library in your own applications. Finally, we'll see, of course, the documentation, other related stuff related with the library, and the pricing. What is the cost of the library of these controls? To be able to use the library, we can use a trial. It's a 30 days trial that does not require a credit card. And even we can get support and solve some questions using the trial. We can download the trial right here from this button. We need to create a Telerik account and list the process, the installation in different options. We can just download an executable with the entry library and the set of samples, or we can download the sample directly from GitHub and use Nugget package. The application is also available on the stores. You can download the Telerik .NET MAUI controls application directly from the Google Play, or we can use also other ways to get the same application running in other devices. But we are going to use GitHub. In addition to use the GitHub, we have the gallery is the application that we are going to use. But in addition to that, we have other samples. For example, this crypto tracker application just using some of the chart controls, listing, etc., showcasing all the controls, but with the running final application. We are going to jump to Visual Studio and use the gallery that I have already running here. So once we launch the application, we have a dashboard, a home screen, start screen that allow us to access the entry set of controls, as well as, for example, the documentation, etc. So we have a menu where we can search by controls, content, and we have a list with all the set of controls. We will use the menus in the alphabetical order to go and see one control each one by one. So let's start by the accordion. The accordion is a control that allows us to have a set of elements with content that we can expand and collapse. It offers different customization options, both from the indicator to expand, the header, for example, and of course we can put any kind of content with multiple options related with the configuration. Related, for example, if we want to apply an animation, the hissing of the animation duration, etc., etc. Then we can jump to the iPrompt control. It's a component that allows you to integrate LLM models with AI directly onto your .NET MAUI applications to be able to create, for example, chats and generate content using this component in a easier way. We have the autocomplete control. It's a control that allows to capture tests receiving suggestions to self-complete the content. Of course, the same as with previous options, we have customization options to customize the appearance. We can put a placeholder. We can modify how we showcase the suggestions, the mass 8, if there is no result, the message, etc. Then we have the batch view control. It's a control that allows to display a small indicator icon that normally is in the top left corner, but we can put in any place. We can put different icons with different options and use it with different ways, lists, in tabs, etc. There are several options to customize it, the offset and position of the indicator. We can align at the center, right, left. We can change the animation, if every time that the content of the batch view changes, we apply an animation or not. And of course, we can customize the colors, background color, text color, etc. So then we have a control that allows us to generate barcodes in different formats. One of the most classic are the QR code, but we also can have generate other types of barcodes, etc. in different formats. We have a border control. It's a control that allows to create a content like we have here and apply a border around it. We can define, the container, the border thickness, border color, and we can apply different corner radius to every of the corners of the control. Then we have the load indicator control that, as its name implies, it allows us to show content that is being loaded. We can, display a loading indicator. It's interesting that offers multiple animations and multiple predefined effects to directly use it in a simple way. Time to jump to one of the classic controls, like the button. There are a lot of customization options here if we want to display an image or not, if the button have, for example, border and not display content, if we fill the content, etc, etc, etc. One of the most interesting is the calendar, because fill a gap that is not available in the core. There are multiple options to display the content. We can have an annual view, decade view, we can monthly view. There are different options to display the content with different selection options, single selection, multiple selection, be able to select a range. Of course, there are options related with the globalization that are really, really important. We can adapt, for example, to the Gregorian calendar or the Persian calendar. In addition to the multiple customization options, we are able, of course, to change how we display the content. We can modify, for example, the market days. We can modify, for example, all the colors and formats that compose all the calendar. At the charts level, there are a huge amount of different charts. We can display simple charts like bar, line chart, or area charts. But then in every of the series, for example, in the bar series, we can display bar series in horizontal bars, vertical bars. We can create bars with multiple ones, etc. There are more series like scatter series to display points, like creating a financial graphics. We can create charts with real-time data. There are different options to, create selections or comparisons between data, the typical donuts chart, etc. Then we have the chat control. It allows us to create a simple chat where we use, the classic bubbles with the content, the indicators about who is sending the message, if it's the sender or the receiver. You can customize the type of content. You can, for example, put a simple text, but you can share, for example, image. You can share a calendar. You can share more complex data like lists, allowing to pick one of the content. It's an interesting control to simplify the process of creating a chart. Passing to other controls, we of course have a checkbox with different customization options with the mark, different animations, etc. And one of the biggest one is the collection view, to create, in this case, and display a collection of data. The interesting part of this is that the control is virtualized, so we only render the elements that are on the screen, reusing cells and, allowing multiple options related with configurations, related with the selection options, grouping options, filtering, templating. For example, here we can see how we can create groups, and we can create more complex options with multiple options related with customization, vertical list, horizontal list, spacing, length, selection mode of the items, etc. We have a combo box. similar to the picker in .NET MAUI, but have really interesting options like multiple selection. We have, for example, a single selection. We can customize the colors, the placeholder, the title, if the combo box is editable of not, width, 8, offset, etc. Then we have the data form that allow us to capture data from text to numbers, dates, times, as well as numerical values, like we can see with the numeric up down. For example, here we have also a segmented control, and where we have several options to customize. For example, we have the rating control, we can customize the headers, we can customize colors, icons, placeholders, etc. Jumping to another of the big controls, one of the most complex one is the data grid. It's really important because cover a gap in desktop with an important control. This is the simplest examples that we can have is use a huge amount of data that we can group and filter, etc. But there are several samples showcasing different functionality related with the control. The most important stuff is the performance with, again, virtualizing the content and allowing to scroll and access the content in a really quick way. We can customize, for example, the columns, the column types. We can have different options to selection. We can select single items or multiple ones. We also have group options. We can group, for example, in this case, in this sample, by airline. So we can expand and collapse based on the group, for example. There are multiple data source types. We can, for example, customize if there is no data, if the collection is empty, the empty template. We can, for example, customize all the headers, all the columns. We can have row details, customizing and indexing more rows with others. We can support drag headers, etc. And we have search options and, of course, customization options related to customize different cells, the header styles, the control style. We can modify, for example, the selection style, etc., etc., etc. It's a very customizable option with a really nice performance, allowing to cover an important gap in desktop applications and mixing different content in different ways. Then we have the date picker. So it's a control that allows us to select dates. We also have the datetime picker, which is similar but in a picker format. Then we have the dock layout. It's a new type of layout that allows us to dock different views on top, left, etc. If you comes from other Microsoft frameworks, like for example WPF, probably this control. We have the entry control, it's a simple test that allow us to capture text or password. There are multiple options related with the configuration to customize font, scroll, or maximum length, placeholder, etc. We have an expander control that allow us to have a control that we can expand and collapse. We have gauge that allow us to display in a very visual way mainly numerical values between a range. We have the image editor that allow us to select an image, pick an image, and from here we have multiple options to, for example, cut, rotate, modify the aspect ratio, among other options, and allowing us to, for example, save the image, etc. Then we have the items control. It's another control that it's created to display a collection of data. This probably is familiar to you again if you have developed before with other Microsoft Stack frameworks like WPF. We have the list picker that allows us to select an element in a picker format from a list of elements. We also have the control list view that allows to create data collections with listing with multiple options related with the customization, allowing to create, for example, groups, having options to create, for example, bulk refresh, sweep gesture to, for example, delete elements, etc. The map controls allow to display overlays using the S3 shapefiles. It's a control that allows us to multiple customization options. The masked entry, it's an entry that allows to automatically type out the text by filling and marking the content. We can define multiple patterns, numerical and, for example, with text, emails, phones, IP address, etc. The navigation view is another complex control that allows us to create a container that will allow us to manage the navigation between the application, creating a sliding menu. We can access to different elements, creating examples like this. For example, it's a email application where we can access to the inbox, etc. There are several options to modify the configuration of the control. If the lateral menu is always expanded or can be expanded or collapsed, the width of the expanded element, the width of the panel when it's collapsed, etc., etc. Then we have the numeric input. It's a control that allows us to capture numerical values, allow to capture a numerical value in a simple way, and we have options to draw a path from simple ones like circulars or ellipses to complex path. We have different options to manage the PDF. We have a PDF control to modify it, and we have a PDF viewer that allow us to load from simple documents to very complex or long ones with a huge volume of page. And there are several options to customize, for example, a toolbar, allowing options like zooming, navigating to different pages, etc. There is also an interesting control to display pop-ups and contextual information with respect to an item. Like, for example, in this case, we have seen in this sample. More basic controls like a progress bar with several customization options to create something different like the typical line. But we have options to modify every aspect of the line, the width, if we want to display a test, etc. There is a range slider allowing to select a value between a range with different customization options like the tick, if we want to put labels, colors of the tick, of the bar, the track, etc. Also, we can modify the behavior with the drag mode, etc. The rating control, we have seen it before, but yeah, it's a control that indicates a score in a very visual way. We also have a rich text editor allowing to modify different kind of text, importing and exporting text in different formats, and with several options to customize a toolbar allowing to modify, for example, the text with different options like the alignment, font, the bold, and also allowing contextual menu items. Then we have the schedule. Like we have seen before with the calendar view, we have different options to display the data with day, 3 days, work week, or month view, and several options related with the customization. We can customize, of course, every of the appointment with different templates, how we display the data, etc. We have seen also before the segmented control, and it's a control that allows us to select one option from different ones, with several ones. We can directly display text, icon, or both of them. And we have a side drawer. It's a control that allows to have a main view and another view that will be the drawer one that will allow us to display a menu with different elements, sections, and we can, for example, navigate to them and change content from the main content. Then we have more controls like the signature, path, which allow us to make signatures. We have controls like sliders with multiple, of course, configuration options, tick, colors, backdrop color, out of range, tick color, etc. Then we have the slide view that allow us to display a slide in a collection of elements. We can have options to display elements and navigate directly to it with an indicator, or we can navigate with gesture, or we can navigate with some buttons. Several options to customize, animation, while we pass from one item to other, etc. Then we have more controls to, for example, generate Excel files. We can convert within different formats. We can search and find information within an Excel file, add notes, comment, and generate the content in several ways. Supports large volumes and work in an efficient way. Then we have the tab view control that allow us to create tabs, the template picker that allow us to customize any of the content from the picker, time picker to select and choose pick items like we have seen before with the date picker. There are two formats with the time picker also. And then we have another interesting control, especially for desktop, and is the toolbar, allowing to create custom toolbars, and the tree view, allowing to display a huge amount of hierarchical data, allowing to navigate, expanding or collapsing between child's, parents, etc. Like we have seen before, several options to customize, if the selection mode is single or multiple, the level of indentation, the settings related with the tree view items that we can customize, if only display text or also icons, etc. Similar to the Excel file, we have the words processing that allow us to, generate Word documents, finding content inside, etc. Another layout, the wrap layout, that wraps the content. If you have worked with other Microsoft frameworks, you have seen it before. And zip library, allowing us to manage zip files. Okay, so we have seen all the Telerik library running in a single application, and now it's time to see how we can integrate it in our own application. So first of all, you have also the Progress Telerik UI for .NET MAUI extension. It's an extension that includes, for example, the toolbox, allowing to drag and drop controls to from the toolbox to the XAML view, and also offers other functionality, project templates, for example, to create directly with a wizard. And now it's a good time to jump to the documentation. The documentation is available on docs.telerik.com, and inside DevTools MAUI, we have the documentation related to .NET MAUI. The documentation is organized by different sections, first steps, and, for example, how to do load, etc. Inside, for example, the control section, we have one section related with every control, from the getting start from every control to more advanced settings, like, for example, how to customize it. So let's put the focus on the getting started. We have two ways. First step with the MSI, downloading everything, or using the Nugget package. So the thing that we need to do is to go to Visual Studio, Nugget Package Explorer, Package Source, and we are going to include the Nugget package related with Telerik, that is this one, nugget.telerik.com ev3 index.json. And after including it, the next step is, of course, install the Telerik .NET MAUI package. Just search by Telerik UI for MAUI. This is the package ID, and once we find it, just press the install button. And finally, we need to go to the MAUI program class and register the required handlers. To do that, we need to use the use Telerik extension method. So let's go to Visual Studio and take a look to the same. So I'm going to open the Nugget Package Manager, and we can see here that I have installed the Telerik UI for .NET MAUI. The only difference is like we are using now the trial. So in this case, if you use the trial, you will see the trial version in it. Then the rest of the steps are the same. Use the Telerik extension method in the MAUI program class. And this extension is using things like, for example, use MAUI compatibility, register SkiaShare because some controls, for example, the data grid is using that, registering their own effects, etc. So now that we have everything registered, installed, it's time to see how we can use it in our own page. To do that, we are going to take a look to how the sample is using it. Let's take a look to some of the samples. For example, the first step, the first look of the data grid control. The first thing that we need to do is, as always, create the XAML namespace from Telerik. That is this one, schemas.telerik.com 2022 XAML MAUI. Once we create the namespace, we need to go to our XAML, Telerik, and we can get access to any of the controls. In this case, it's creating the RAD data grid control. All the controls from Telerik start by the RAD word. And yeah, once we create it, we can start using it. For example, the RAD data grid have some basic properties like the item source property. Then we have the columns property, and inside here we can create data grid column items. For example, if we want to display single text, data grid text column. If it's a more complex one, data grid combo box column, data grid numerical column in case of use, for example, numeric values, or if we want to use boolean, data grid boolean column, etc., etc. We can customize every cell with the cell content template. We can modify, for example, the columns width, minimum width, etc. There are several options to customize the control if we want to hide or not columns, etc. Let's take a look to something more complex like grouping. Again, we create the namespace. Using the namespace Telerik, and we get access to the raw data grid. In this case, the difference is that we use the use group mode to enable grouping and the group descriptors. And we can see, for example, other example, like for example, the empty template. In this case, we use the empty content template to create a data template, in this case displaying an image in case the item source is null or empty. So we have seen that we can customize from basic data grid to more complex one, and we can even create the view for empty template, an empty template when nothing is rendered, the item source is empty. And yeah, we have seen some basic columns, but we can customize any of the columns again with template. We have a cell content template that we can customize with a specific resource. So we have multiple options. We can see approximately how controls will be used in a page. In the case of the data grid, for example, we have seen that we create the namespace and then we can use the control directive with all the options. If by reviewing the summary, we can download the MCI file with all the options, or we can use, Nugget package. We need to download the Nugget package, search it by the ID. Then we need to use the use Telerik extension method in the MAUI program class. And once we create everything, we can create the XAML namespace in our page and start using the control like we have seen in the case of the data grid. At the beginning of the video, we indicate that we are using a paid library. So how much does it cost? Well, you can buy different type of license. There are different prices at buying new license or if you are renewing. This section is for new license price. Buying a Telerik library for .NET MAUI will cost $1,099 per developer. The renewal has a 50% of discount and will include, .NET MAUI with all the documentation, support, priority support in with response in 24 hours, etc. They also offers package with the entry set of controls, MAUI, Blazor, WinY, and other stacks that of course have a more competitive price in case you are developing with different frameworks. So, in summary, it's a really complete library, a company with many years of experience offering a very, very high volume of controls with high quality and covering gaps, important gaps in mobile and mostly also in desktop. We have taken a look to all the possibilities. What's your experience? What do you think? And we get to the end of the video. I hope that the content has been useful for you. If so, remember to like and also to subscribe to not miss notifications when new content is released. See you soon!